I want to say to you, my brother, in whom I'm well pleased, Senate President, convey this one message on behalf of these Igbos who are seated, that the best way to honor this great young man is the release of Nnamdi Kanu. So that the Igbos can go home and reorganize their place. And I know you, Senator Akpabio, that even if you don't want to do it, send this message. For the sake of your wife, who is our daughter, send this message and get us a result. Or else, your wife is not too far from taking back home. Your Excellency, Mr. President, we are particularly happy that you are always coming to associate yourself with things like this. Nigeria still remains very grateful. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
Hello, good day, my SM viewers. This is Satellite Media. Let us look at the sudden disappearance or silence of the Prime Minister of Biafra in Ezza. I'm talking about Samuel Ekpa, who have not tweeted for like 2 days now, because looking at the rate and manner through which he tweets, I think people are looking at that he may have disappeared, or maybe he may have been arrested or something, because we understand that when Nnamdi Kanu was arrested, nobody knew of it until the then Minister of the Attorney General of the Federation addressed the press and announced that Nnamdi Kanu had been extradited from Kenya to Nigeria, though he didn't mention the part of the world, have been brought back to the country to face charges in the courts. We understand that even in Nigerian court, the Court of Appeal has since ruled that he was extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Nigeria, contrary to the position of the federal government from the beginning. And even as we speak, there were attempts by stakeholders to reach a political solution to see whether they could get him released, but that have not happened. Even as the senator from the eastern part of the country met with the Attorney General of the Federation before the last court sitting, where Nnamdi Kanu himself asked Justice Binta Anyako to recuse herself. Of course, Justice Binta Anyako is no longer handling the case, and the case is waiting to be reassigned to another judge. But from what I've seen, it is not clear whether Samuel Ekpa is arrested or whether the Finnish authorities have heard him, or in fact, it's not clear. His whereabouts is not clear. And we have seen a situation where yesterday, while the Senate were discussing the issue that has to do with the death of one of their colleagues, I'm talking about Senator Ifeanyi Uba, who will likely be buried on the 22nd of this month. The former governor of Imo State, I'm talking about Rochas, was asking the government through the Senate president perhaps to convey the message to the government for the possible release of Nnamdi Kanu. Though he jokingly said that if the Senate president is not willing to convey the message, but for the sake of his wife, who is a Southeasterner, that should do so. He jokingly threatened to withdraw, or rather take back the wife, who is a sister, if the Senate president is not doing that. But looking at the manner and how Samuel Ekpa acts, or rather his modus operandi, it was expected that once Nnamdi Kanu is mentioned by a politician, he would have responded through a tweet. But surprisingly, up to now, he have not equally responded. And so many other areas where people expected that he would have responded to issues, he have not responded. Remember that before now, even Samuel Ekpa himself has said that even the burial of Ifeanyi Uba is having clean leg. Though he said he didn't say it, that he heard it from Dr. Damages. Me, I do not know who is Dr. Damages, but I think that was a tweet he tweeted before he started tweeting. The way it stands, it's not clear whether he have taken break or what have transpired. But we remember that the other time, there was a time he was briefly arrested by Finnish authorities, and perhaps he was questioned and later released. But we understand that this is someone who have already renounced his Nigerian citizenship, and he has since returned the gold medals he won on behalf of Nigeria. During the time he played, he did some athletic for Nigeria, returned them to Nigeria, and have since renounced his Nigerian citizenship. But it's not clear if someone who have renounced his citizenship could still be extradited from the country of his abode to his country where he actually hailed from. But the way it stands, I do not know, or I'm not sure whether Nigerian government currently enjoy extradition treaty with Finland. But that is not to say that Nigerian government cannot kickstart such process, because Nigerian government has severally accused the same Simon Ekpa of violent crime, and they have severally tried to approach the Finnish authorities to see whether he could be extradited to Nigeria to face all those allegations. We understand that even the senator, one of the senators from the southern part of the country, made it clear the other time that he had personally met with the Finnish embassy, and they told him that as Simon Ekpa have right to his opinion, but whether he has right to his opinion, that is not the issue. The government has severally accused him of violent crime here in Nigeria, and the government wanted to come back to Nigeria to answer those allegations. But it's not clear his whereabouts. Nobody can vividly say whether he's arrested, whether he is in Finland, wherever his whereabouts is not clear. But I understand that in Finland, the way it stands, they are a country that runs on rule of law. If for any reason someone needs to be brought back from Finland to Nigeria, I understand there should be a judicial process. I'm talking about the judicial process that has to do with litigation, argument in the court, whether the person should come to that country or not, the person's opinion, whether the person wants to come to the country or not, and the position of the government, whether the government of Finland will allow the person to be extradited from Finland to Nigeria. Those are the things that would have been discussed in the court before one could determine whether someone who is accused in a foreign land could be repatriated or extradited from that country to Nigeria. But that we didn't see happen in Nnamdi Kanu case. Of course, it was established by a court of competent jurisdiction in Nigeria, talking about Court of Appeal, that Nnamdi Kanu was extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Nigeria, and as such, the federal government had lost every right to prosecute him and should be released unconditionally. The federal government has since appealed that judgment, and the case was supposed to start de novo, that go to court of first instance to start all over again. But as you have it, Nnamdi Kanu have since asked Justice Bita Yaku to recuse herself, and the case is yet to be reassigned to another judge. But the way it stands, the man, Simon Ekpa, whereabouts is a question, because he's someone that is known to tweet at every given opportunity once an issue happens. Of course, once you mention Nnamdi Kanu, you see the next thing you see, Simon Ekpa will react, he will tweet. Of course, he has said the other time that the only condition upon which he's ready to negotiate with Nigeria is two things. One, he said they must accede to the issue that has to do with the release of Nnamdi Kanu. And secondly, he's talking about referendum of the eastern part of the country, not eastern part of the country anyway, of Biafra sovereignty. That if government is ready to put those two things on the table to discuss the referendum of the people of the eastern part of the country, and secondly, if they accede to release of Nnamdi Kanu, they will be willing and ready to negotiate on that basis. We understand that the issue of self-determination in itself is not a crime, because the UN Charter that talks about self-determination is have been ratified in Nigeria, and hence it is already a law domiciled in our legal jurisprudence. We understand that once a UN charter is ratified in your country like Nigeria, it becomes a law automatically. Of course, I think that was explain the reason we saw Supreme Court recently ruling in a case brought before it by about 19 state governors through their respective attorney generals, challenging the legality of EFCC, of ICPC, of financial intelligence unit, because according to them, those agencies of government, federal government, were UN convention, and as such, going by Nigerian way of making their law, you needed to take majority buy-in, endorsement, concurrent from the majority of the state House of Assembly needed to endorse any constitutional amendment, review, enactment to make it a law. That didn't happen when EFCC was established. We understand that happened during the presidency of Olusegun Obasanjo, That was the basis for which about 19 governors challenged it. But in the wisdom of the Supreme Court, they said it is a UN convention and not a charter. We understand that the UN charter is one that is involving 2 or more countries. The UN convention, when it comes to convention, we're talking about many countries. And according to the Supreme Court, that hence it was a UN convention and it has been ratified in Nigeria, that is already a law in Nigeria and is binding on all the states, including the FCT as such, that EFCC is legal. To that extent, we are talking about UN convention that talks about self-determination that has been ratified in Nigeria. I think in the same vein, if anyone is talking about self-determination and is doing it within the ambit of the law without recourse to destruction or wanton destruction of lives and property, I think that person may not have offended any known law, whether locally or internationally. But the way it stands, the whereabouts of Samuel Ekpa is the issue. Where is Samuel Ekpa? And the media space, so many online platforms have raised the question: has he been arrested? Is he being tried for perhaps extradition, or where is his whereabouts? Is the question. Thank you very much. Please let me know, Mr.